Greetings, fellow YouTubians, and welcome back to my show. I am Sean Dent, your host. So let's talk about difficult patients. When you go into nursing, you need to probably accept the idea that you're going to deal with more difficult patients than you're going to deal with the easy or not difficult. Truth of the matter is that our job is to advocate and take care of human beings in some of their worst moments, in some of their weakest, most vulnerable moments. So you're not going to find many patients who are happy when they see a nurse. So, dealing with difficult patients. Over the years, we've all tried different approaches, everything from being the most pleasant and nice person to being the stern voice of reason to being flat out mean, and all of us have done it. The reality is that every single patient's going to be different, and if you work in a hospital where you get the same assignment over and over again, or let's say you work 2 or 3 shifts back to back, so you might get the same patient load again. And if, let's say, that particular patient in your patient load is a little difficult, your tolerance level is going to be pretty darn high. So you might very well lose your cool. You might get quite angry. You might get quite upset. The best piece of advice I can give is the piece of advice I got from a cardiac surgeon once when I had a very difficult patient and we were talking, and the best piece of advice I ever got was that when things get tough, when you have to make a conscious effort not to lose your cool and to maintain your professionalism, the best thing you can do is to look at that individual as a family member. If it's the demented 90-year-old who has to push the button every 5 minutes because they have to urinate when you know they have a Foley catheter in, and your buttons have been pushed one too many times, and all you'd want to do is scream when you walk into that room, think of that patient as your grandmother, or you have that difficult mid-20-year-old woman, man, teenagers, doesn't matter. No matter how nasty they can get, ultimately it's a defense mechanism, and it's the way that they're coping with whatever it is they're going through, no matter how minor or major it may be. So you get to bear the load, and it's our job to try and not lose our cool and try and be there for the patient when they need it the most. And all of this sounds great on camera and is wonderful to see on video, but when you're at the bedside and that patient has pushed you to your limits, you're going to want to scream, you're going to want to yell. I would take a step back, walk out of the room, walk off the unit, have somebody step in for you for a brief moment, go to the clean utility room, go to the supply room, scream your head off, and come back and regroup. And always remember to think of them as a family member. As weird as it may sound, it works. If you remember that they have a family, that they have sons, daughters, aunts, uncles, moms, dads, grandchildren, if you remember that they have family, maybe you'll be a little bit more tolerant. Always think about what they're going through and not what you're going through. It's not their fault that you have a 10-patient assignment and that the bells are ringing 90% of your day, and that you're short-staffed and you don't have an aide, and this is your 4th shift in a row, and the coworkers you work with aren't helping you out. None of that is the patient's fault. So try and keep that in mind. The hardest thing to do is to be nice when you don't feel nice, when you don't feel good. to be positive when there's nothing positive to think about during your shift. And I think that that's what makes or breaks a nurse sometimes, is that you got to put on the McDonald's smile. You have to, it's sometimes you have to do your job no matter how difficult that patient may be.